Hi, I'm Rod, I'm Bright Light, and I'm talking to EQ Music about singles, albums, fun things, hard things, great things, and thank you for tuning in and listening, and thanks for supporting EQ Music.
So we're here with Rod Thomas, Bright Light, and it actually doesn't feel like an interview. You have performed at festivals for us, you've performed at small events, yes. EQ nights before. You've been on our Poptronic albums. We've followed you on tour for a couple times, and so it doesn't really feel like an interview. It kind of feels like a catch-up, really.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, hanging out backstage at concerts and.
Yeah.
So you just got back from New York.
Yes.
And how long have you been back?
I've been back for about a month.
About a month.
5 weeks.
Yeah. How you've been going back to New York a lot. Recently, a couple times I think.
Yeah.
How is that shaping your artistry in this day and age, and is it an important part of sort of the next era of Bright Light?
Yeah, it's very important. A lot of the new album is shaped by New York. But not just New York, the people that I met there. You know, I kind of really found an amazing life in New York over the last couple of years, and just met a lot of people, musicians and non-musicians, that really changed my life, really. How I looked at things and how I felt about myself and the kind of musical influences that I was listening to, and just kind of really fell back in love with making music and started to enjoy it much more than I ever had.
Okay, fantastic. What's different about making electronic pop music out in the States versus making electronic pop music in the UK and building your brand?
Technically nothing, because I replicated my studio from here over there. But over there, my personal experience and difference is that I had much more of a pool of musicians to swap and exchange with.
Really? Okay.
So, like Del from Scissor Sisters and Bridget and Xavier are also in Slow Nights with us. They're very involved with the record, and I probably would never have made the record without them. So like they sing on a lot of the tracks, and Del does guitar, and it made it feel much more like a family effort in a way, which is really nice. You know, the last album I collaborated with 3 different producers on it, but I kind of felt very alone in that process. In a good way at the time. It was kind of my drive, and this album I think is much more, because the perspective of it is reaching a place where you feel included and you feel like you have this amazing family around you. I wanted it to sound like that, so I wanted different tones of voice, and I wanted female voices, and I wanted other musicianship on it, and it feels like a really nice warm record, which is much more optimistic at heart.
Okay.
You know?
Fantastic. Now you released the In Your Care EP. You got your single out with Elton John, the duet, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Are we building up to the second full-length record, or what's the plan? It's out in July.
Yes.
Okay. How is it going to be different from the In Your Care EP thematically?
Thematically, that's one part in the jigsaw of it. I mean, you know, family is very much ingrained in like the distance issue, and you know, you have to leave behind a family to set up a life in another country, and that's hard and amazing. It's not, you know, luckily I have a family out there that understands that I'm not leaving because I don't like them. But it's something that you always think about, and it's really the record's about, it is about family, you know, it's about missing my blood family and finding a really new friendship family that have this amazing world that really brought me back to life from a time where I didn't actually feel that great. So that thematically, that's really integral to the record. And there's a song about my best friend, there's a song about my parents, there's a song about, you know, how you look at your relationships, friendship and romantic, and realizing what you've got to give to people, and maybe what you need from people isn't what you thought you wanted, and you know, being able to fall in love with the world and appreciate the good things rather than yearning for stuff.
I really noticed with this sort of second era of music that you were touching on wider issues outside of the universal issue of love.
Yeah.
And like when you released In Your Care, I thought, wow, that to me is probably the most touching Bright Light record I've heard. And I really loved how, I'm not going to tear up, but no, I loved how it was about your mother, and
Yeah.
you know, you really sort of honed in on an emotion and a feeling that not too many artists touch upon. How was that record? I mean, obviously it was inspired by your mother, but
Yeah.
did you play the record for her? Was she a part of the process, or?
And no, she wasn't a part of the process. No, well, it was about my parents. Really,
Yeah.
About this mother in the video. They heard it live. I think it was the first time they heard it, or maybe I emailed it to them. I can't remember. But they really liked it. You know, it's just a kind of moment to remind people that distance doesn't mean lack of thought.
Yeah.
And obviously it's something that's really hard to say, because you can say it, but it always sounds a little bit disingenuous. So I kind of thought the best way that I could explain it is to write something like that. And I was really proud of it. Like, me and John put it together, and just in my bedroom here, or my home studio, which is now my bedroom, in a couple of hours. And I loved it. I loved some of the sounds he arrived with, and I loved the sounds that we finished putting together. And I really thought it didn't sound like anything I'd done before. And that's why I kind of chose that as like the initial sort of teaser for the next album. Like, it's not everything on the next album sounds like that, or is as brooding, or as kind of like, you know, pulsating, but I really didn't think it sounded like anything on the first album, and it was kind of a nice moving.
Yeah, for me it definitely was the next chapter.
Bye. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but I recently watched Lady Gaga's South by Southwest keynote speech.
And how was it?
It was pretty surprisingly amazing.
Okay.
Actually, and I highly recommend you take a look at it on YouTube. But she was kind of talking about how the power of the music industry has to fall back into the hands of the artists, and how record labels don't have money anymore, and how you shouldn't compromise yourself when making music, regardless of how many people depend on you to for their jobs in the industry, that sort of thing. I thought that was really empowering and really kind of reinforced my thoughts about the new music industry. Having always been an independent artist who's been doing quite well, and has been getting a lot of attention, but still having that power within yourself to control a lot of it. How is things different now for you versus when you were starting out? Sort of a long-winded question, I know. But
it's very different from when I was starting out. I definitely feel like more doors are open, and that, you know, I've proven something, so that I've got an audience which I really didn't have before. I still think things are very challenging, sometimes in a really positive way. You know, it's nice to feel like you've still got a lot of work to do, because it keeps you on your toes and it keeps your brain active, and you know, no one benefits from feeling lethargic or lazy. But I'm inclined to disagree with her statement about labels. I still believe that, like, from having worked at a label, you know, in the past, I still believe that there are a lot of amazingly skilled people that work at record labels who have got a lot of passion and a lot of experience. I think saying that labels don't care and saying that labels are more and more redundant is slightly short-sighted, because you might have the wrong manager or product manager within a label, but the team might be amazing, and you don't necessarily understand the work that every single person does. Kind of like an ant hive. You know, every single person in that chain is important. It does take one person to let it down, and everything can go wrong. I completely understand. Like, I know friends,
which is any business, really.
Yeah, I know friends that have had terrible times at labels, and I know friends that have had the most amazing support at labels. So I think it's important to remember that, you know, what you accept from a label financially means you have different expectations from the label. And obviously, if you take a check, you relinquish control. So, you know, it's an important balance, and it's not one that everyone can get right. But I still think that labels are very important.
Okay. is it important for you to be on a label, or do you like to maintain that control?
It's not really a control thing. It's about finding the right family, I think.
Okay.
The whole thing about this record is family, you know, like the people that have been involved in the whole process, and all of my team and all of the people that I collaborate with, work with, employ, tour with. It's all about finding a family balance. So finding the right label to make an extra bit of the family would be amazing. It just hasn't happened quite yet. I'm not averse to having a label, and I'm also not depressed not to have a label. It's just, this is how it is at the moment, and I'm getting on with it because I like making music, you know.
Well, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Really. Well, that's good to hear. It's refreshing. So, fantastic. So, you're getting a lot of attention about this Elton John duet.
Surprisingly, a few people have heard of him, I think.
I'm not going to ask you how it all happened and everything, but did you ever think in your juncture of a career as an independent artist that something like this could ever happen?
No, I never ever thought that this would happen to me, or really to anyone. It's completely surreal to have somebody whose music you listen to passively and actively almost every single day of your entire life is now singing on one of my songs. It's really humbling, and it's really amazing. It's just, you know, finding somebody of that caliber and that kind of experience and that career who's still actively seeking out new music is really heartwarming.
And promoting emerging artists.
Emerging artists, which, you know, very few people do. Very few independent artists promote independent artists. Very few emerging artists promote emerging artists. Like, one of the things that I really loved about the Disclosure record was how they very shrewdly picked some incredibly talented new artists and exposed them to this world. You know, whether that was the intention or not, they've really done that, and they've really helped out some of those people. Yeah. It's really cool. I love the world that they've built. I love this network that they've built. I'm insanely jealous I'm not part of it. But I think it's amazing. It's a really, really great model. Collaboration and sort of like helping out other people is really important to me, and I try and do it whenever I can, which is why I've tried to get people like Bridget and Xavier on my record, because they're both amazingly talented, and, you know, even if you just hear them doing a background note, they still shine, and they've been part of my stage shows, so I've tried to sort of like make them feel really included and really part of it, because they have been very much part of my personal change and my professional change over the last few years. But then when someone like Elton comes along, it's really overwhelming. What's actually more overwhelming is that because I know him so well now, I forget how famous and how established he is, and then you take a step back and you're like, oh my god, it's Elton John singing on a song. And it was really hard for the first couple of times of listening to it to really process what had happened. You know, it was really quite something.
I kind of love that you guys just put it out there too. I mean, I think it premiered on The Guardian, but I love how, you know, it doesn't seem like there was any chart strategy. It didn't seem like there was any big long-term goal with it. It was kind of like two friends getting together and putting out a song and just doing it for the sake of doing it. I may be wrong, but that's how
No, that was largely it. I mean, I'm not really under any illusion that I'm going to have a chart hit right now. I don't have that push. You know, I don't have the machine around it, and I definitely don't have the marketing budget. So I wanted to just share something that really came about because we are friends and because we both wanted to work on something, and, you know, just kind of do it without any like pomp or calculation, because the song wasn't really done with any kind of calculation. It just felt really right to put it out, and, you know, this is a little statement about what the album is about. It's about connections, and it's about just making something that felt good and captured a moment, and this really did capture many moments for me over the last few years. and it's just making its way out there, which is nice.
So yeah, tell me about the music video. I really enjoyed it. There's a little twist in there too, which was
Yeah.
quite fun.
It's a nice video. The guys that put together the treatment for it are really lovely, and they just by chance picked the location that is the favorite diner of the person that the song is about.
Really?
I don't really know how to phrase that statement. It sounds so jumbled. The person it's about, that's their favorite restaurant.
Okay.
And when I saw that location on the treatment, I was really stunned, just by chance. I mean,
weird how the universe works sometimes.
it's very weird how the universe works sometimes. Yeah. So, and also, it's the song isn't about being angry with them. It's about sort of making peace with the fact that something doesn't work and kind of letting it go. It's not a hateful song. It's actually kind of more of like a, gently moving on song, really. And so it was a bit of a cathartic video shoot, let's just say. But yeah, they had a really nice team, and they had a really lovely idea, and I think they're kind of like little glances between people suggesting things leaves many interpretations open.
Yeah, when the waitress came over to the dude, I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
That was quite good. So you're back in London. Are you going to be jaunting off to New York anytime soon, or are you going to be by continent? Or
there's going to be a lot of back and forth with all
Yeah.
the promotion for the record, and
I like keeping up with your adventures on Facebook.
I'm
it's
sure
quite fun.
Virgin Airways do as well. They take enough of my money. Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth this year and a lot of traveling, which is great. It's nice to be able to travel and see people in all the cities that I've met.
Fantastic. So, as an independent electronic pop artist who's doing quite well and is, we've been following for years, what sort of advice do you have to other electronic pop artists who are wanting to follow in your footsteps and learn from your actions and sort of look at you as a role model?
I would say take a little time to understand what's really important for you. Take a little bit of time to understand what you think you can give. It's very easy to overlook what your skills are when you're trying to put something together, because maybe you want to sound like something, or maybe you want to do something, but actually that might not be what you're best at. Learning about yourself and learning about what your best assets are is a really tough journey. So that's really important. Having fun is really important. It's a lot of work, but it's good work if you let it be. Mm-hmm. It's really rewarding, and it's nice to work hard and feel like something comes from something you've put in. It's not always going to be easy, but as long as you kind of enjoy the challenges, mm-hmm. then I think that's then you're doing something right. I don't know. It's a tricky one. I just think you've got to want to put the work in, and you've got to want to get what comes out of it. It's not something that's like a particularly easy career path. But then neither is being a plumber or being a teacher or being anything vocational. Any kind of job you have to work hard at. And it is kind of a job. It's a wonderfully privileged job, but it is work. People kind of forget that. Like, you need to work at stuff. I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race last night.
Oh, girl.
Don't even talk about it. But just, him saying to one of the contestants, like, you have to work, you have to put the work in. It's like...
It's not all about the exposure, it's not all about the press.
It's unbelievable that people don't understand that, mm-hmm. Like, look at anyone you've ever seen succeed at any role, in any job in history, and tell me one person that hasn't worked their arse off to get there. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's something very simple, but it's something that is apparently very simple to forget.
I don't know if I'll include this but you mentioned it. I don't know if I'll include this in the interview or not, but I think we're we're living in an age where media promotes the idea of, yeah, you can be a successful partier, you can be on a reality TV show, you can get instant exposure overnight, you can upload a YouTube video of you doing something really stupid and become famous. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing?
I think it depends whether you value fame or success or artistic integrity, really. I think, yeah, it's a shame because fame is now the goal, not any kind of like value or success. Yeah, you can be famous, you know, overnight. You can absolutely do that. But whether that will buy you a career or longevity or respect, you know, that's a very different thing. You can be famous, of course. You can, you know, trip over a cat on YouTube and get 75,000 million views because everyone Googles cats all the time. But whether anyone wants 15 videos of you tripping over a cat, you know.
There you go.
There you go.
I think you really just sort of summed everything up in your words about surrounding yourself with a good family. And I just want to thank you for always being a part of our EQ Music family
thank you for
over the years.
letting me be
We've
part of
been loving following your journey, and thanks for the time today, Rod. Appreciate it.
Anytime.